Hello everyone, Itisa Joshi here. I welcome you all to the Biochem Bay channel where you can find all the lectures on topic of biochemistry. And here if we continue on our series of carbohydrate biochemistry lectures, we have completed till the disaccharides and our today's topic is oligosaccharides and polysaccharides. In this lecture video, we are going to study the structure of oligo and polysaccharides and some important properties of both of them. So without further ado, let's get started. So let's first start with the oligosaccharides. Oligosaccharides contain from 3 to 10 monosaccharide units. For example, raffinose. Raffinose is an oligosaccharide found in peas and beans, largely undigested until reaching the intestinal flora in the large intestine, releasing hydrogen, carbon dioxide and methane. So raffinose is an oligosaccharide that made up of 3 molecules of monosaccharides. In these monosaccharide substitutes, the first one is beta-D-galactose. The second one is alpha-D-glucose and the third one is beta-D-fructose. So when these 3 molecules are combined with each other, they make the molecule of raffinose. So oligosaccharides contain 3 to 10 monosaccharide units. We are going to look at the polysaccharides. In the polysaccharides, we are going to study about what is homopolysaccharide, what is heteropolysaccharide, and some important polysaccharide structure and properties. For example, cellulose, glycogen, dextrans, dextrins, etc. Polysaccharides, or simply we can say glycans, consist of repeated units of monosaccharides or their derivatives held together by glycosidic bonds. So, polysaccharides or glycans consist of repeat units of monosaccharides or their derivatives. They all are held together by the glycosidic bonds. They are primarily concerned with two important functions: structural and storage of energy. So, they are primarily concerned with two important functions. The first, structural, and second is storage of energy. They are linear as well as branched polymers. So they exist in the two form, either linear or branched polymers. Okay. The occurrence of branches in polysaccharide is due to the fact that the glycosidic linkage can be formed at any one of the hydroxyl groups of the monosaccharides. So why branches are there? Because it's due to the fact that the glycosidic linkages can be formed at any one of the hydroxyl group present in the monosaccharides. Okay. Now there are two types of polysaccharides. The one is homopolysaccharide and the second one is heteropolysaccharides. So let's take first look at the homopolysaccharides. On the hydrolysis, yield only a single type of monosaccharides. For example, glucans are polymers of glucose and fructosanes are polymers of fructose. So, upon hydrolysis of glucans, we only get the glucose monosaccharides, and upon hydrolysis of fructosanes, we are only able to get the fructose monosaccharides. So we can say these two are homopolysaccharides because upon hydrolysis of both of them, we can get only one or a single type of monosaccharides. Next, heteropolysaccharides. On hydrolysis, yield a mixture of few monosaccharides or their derivatives. For example, if we hydrolyze and we can get the mixture of monosaccharides like glucose and fructose and galactose, then these type of polysaccharides are known as the heteropolysaccharides. So upon hydrolysis of polysaccharide, if we get only single type of monosaccharide, for example glucose, then it will call as homopolysaccharide. But if the hydrolysis of polysaccharide we can get the mixture of monosaccharides, then we call it as heteropolysaccharides. So now let's take a look at the examples of homopolysaccharides. So the first one is starch. Starch is the carbohydrate reserve of the plants, which is the most important dietary source for higher animals. Okay, so the starch is the carbohydrate reserve of the plants, and starch is the most important dietary source for higher animals such as humans. High content is found in cereals, roots, tubers and vegetables. So high content of starch is found in the cereals, roots, tubers and vegetables. It is a homopolymer composed of D-glucose units held together by alpha glycosidic bonds. So starch is a homopolymer because it only consists of a single type of monosaccharide, that is D-glucose units, and these all D-glucose units are connected by alpha glycosidic bonds. Okay, it consists of two polysaccharides components, the water soluble amylose and water insoluble amylopectins. Now these starch molecule is consist of two types of polysaccharide components. The first one is amylose, which present in the 15 to 20%, and the second one is amylopectin, which is present in the 80 to 85% concentration. So the amylose is water soluble and amylopectin is water insoluble. Chemically, amylose is a long unbranched chain with 200 to 1000 glucose units. So amylose, which is water soluble, is a long and unbranched chain. There are no branches on the structure of amylose. Okay. With 200 to 1000 glucose units. So 200 to 1000 glucose units are held together by alpha 1,4 glycosidic linkage. Amylopectin is a branched chain with alpha 1,6 glycosidic bonds. Amylopectin, which is water insoluble, has branches with alpha 1,6 glycosidic bonds. Now if you don't know what is 1,4 glycosidic bonds, what is 1,6 glycosidic bonds, then you have to take a look at my first lecture on the disaccharides and glycoside formations. So there you will able to know all of that, alpha bonds, beta bonds, alpha 1,4, beta 1,4, alpha 1,2, alpha 1,6, etc. So make sure to first watch that. Okay. So the amylopectin is a branch chain with alpha 1,6 bond. Alpha 1,6 because the first carbon of the first glucose molecule and the sixth carbon of the branch chain are combined together via the glycosidic linkage. So that's why alpha 1,6. Wherever you see the alpha 1,6 bond, there will be the structure of branches there. But if there are only alpha 1,4 bonds are there, then there will be no branches in the structure. For the branches to occur, for the generation of branches, the alpha 1,6 bond is required. Okay. So in the structure of amylose, there are only alpha 1,4 bonds are there. But in the amylopectin, due to the branch structure, the alpha 1,6 bond is there at the branching points. But alpha 1,4 bond is also there where there are linear structures are there. So amylopectin is a branch chain with alpha 1,6 glycosidic bonds at the branching points and alpha 1,4 linkage everywhere else. So here the two structures are there. The first one is of alpha amylose and the second one is amylopectin. In the structure of amylose, as you can see, there are no branches and everywhere the alpha 1,4 bond is there. But in the amylopectin structure, the alpha 1,4 and alpha 1,6 both bonds are there. Alpha 1,6 bond is at the branching point where the branches are emerged and everywhere else the alpha 1,4 bond is there. So wherever the branch is emerged, there will be the alpha 1,6 bond, but everywhere else there are alpha 1,4 glycosidic bond is there. So this difference is present in the amylose and amylopectin. They both are combined to make a structure of starch. Starches are hydrolyzed by amylase to liberate dextrins and finally maltose and glucose units. So in the digestion process of starch, the starch was hydrolyzed into the dextrins, but the enzyme responsible for this is amylase. Okay, so amylase enzyme react upon starches and starches then break down into the dextrins, and then dextrins are break down into the maltose, which is disaccharide. Disaccharide maltose is made up of 2 units of glucose. Then these maltose are acted upon by the maltase enzyme and then finally break down into the glucose units. So that's how digestion of starch take place. Amylase is an enzyme that specifically acts on the alpha 1,4 glycosidic bonds. So now we are going to look at the dextrins. What are dextrins? So the dextrins are the breakdown products of the starch by the enzyme amylase or dilute acids. So if the amylase or dilute acids act upon the starch, then the starch is divided into or a breakdown into the dextrins. Okay, starch is sequentially hydrolyzed through the different dextrins and finally to the maltose and glucose. The second one is dextrans. Dextrans are polymers of glucose. So here the monosaccharide units are glucose, which is produced by microorganisms. They are used as plasma volume expanders in the transfusion. Transfusion is the process when the person is ill, then the other person's blood are transferred into that person. Then the dextrans are used as plasma volume expanders because with the help of the dextrans we can expand the volume of plasma. So it is easier to circulate in the full body. The third one is inulin. Inulin is a polymer of a fructose, for example fructose N. Inulin is not utilized by the body, but it is used for accessing the kidney's function through the measurement of glomerular filtration rate. It occurs in garlic and onion. It is easily soluble in water. The next one is glycogen. Glycogen is the carbohydrate reserve in the animals. It is also known as animal starch. Glycogen is present in the high concentration in liver, followed by muscles and brain. The highest concentration of glycogen is present in the liver, followed by muscles and brains. It also found in plants that do not possess chlorophyll. So, in the plants which do not have chlorophyll, the glycogen is also present there. For example, yeast and fungi. Structurally, glycogen is similar to that of amylopectin with more number of branches. So structurally, glycogen is very similar to the amylopectin, but the difference is in the glycogen there are more number of branches, but in the amylopectin there are less. Glucose is the repeating unit that are held together by alpha 1,4 glycosidic bond and alpha 1,6 glycosidic bond at the branching point. So similar to the amylopectin, where the branches is there will be the bond of alpha 1,6 glycosidic bond, but everywhere else there are alpha 1,4 glycosidic bond. Number of glucose units are up to the 25,000. Okay, so number of glucose units vary in the glycogen depending on the source from which glycogen is obtained. So this is the structure of glycogen. You can see that there are many branches in the glycogen. The next one is cellulose. Cellulose occurs exclusively in the plants, predominant constituent of a plant cell wall. So the cellulose is the predominant constituent of a plant cell wall, totally absent in the animal body. Composed of beta D glucose units linked by beta 1,4 glycosidic bonds. So here instead of alpha 1,4 there are beta 1,4 bonds. Beta because the glucose is present in the beta anomeric form, right? So cellulose is composed of beta D glucose units that are linked together by beta 1,4 glycosidic bonds. It cannot be digested by mammals due to the lack of enzymes. Certain ruminants and herbivore animals contain microorganisms in the gut, which can cleave the bond. So certain ruminants and herbivore animals contain microorganisms in the gut. That microorganisms which secretes a specific enzymes. With the help of that enzyme, they are able to digest some amount of cellulose. Hydrolysis of cellulose yields a disaccharide cell biose followed by beta D glucose. So when we hydrolyze the cellulose, we can get the disaccharide cell biose and then we can get monosaccharide beta D glucose. So cellulose is the major constituents of fiber, the non-digestible carbohydrate. So the function of dietary fibers include decreasing the absorption of glucose and cholesterol from the intestines besides increasing the bulk of feces. So the dietary fibers are very helpful in the reduction of absorption of glucose and cholesterol from the intestine. Besides that, it also increases the bulk of feces. So that's how dietary fibers are very helpful. And the cellulose is the major constituent of that dietary fibers. The next one is chitin. Chitin is composed of N-acetyl D-glucosamine units, which is a derivative of monosaccharides. They all are held together by beta 1,4 glycosidic bond. So the chitin polysaccharide is composed of N-acetyl D-glucosamine units, which all are held together by beta 1,4 glycosidic bond. It is a structural polysaccharide found in the exoskeleton of some invertebrates, for example insects and crustaceans. So chitin is most important polysaccharide because it is present in the exoskeleton of some insects and crustaceans. So now we have completed the polysaccharides, and here we have completed the lecture series of carbohydrate biochemistry. If you like the video, then make sure to subscribe to the Biochem Bee channel, like the video and turn on the notification, and also share with your friends. Thank you.